The discovery. The galaxy was a tapestry of mysteries, ancient relics scattered across distant stars, remnants of long-forgotten civilizations. The Galactic Coalition, a collective of the most advanced species, prided itself on uncovering these secrets. Yet, among the ruins of a desolate planet in the Outer Rim, they found something that defied all logic. The structure was colossal, a ship that dwarfed even the largest of Coalition vessels. Its design was unlike anything the Coalition had seen before, sleek, imposing, and unmistakably human. The humans had vanished centuries ago, a species so volatile and unpredictable that the galaxy had breathed a collective sigh of relief when they disappeared. But now, in the heart of this forgotten world, the Coalition had stumbled upon the last vestige of their existence. Dr. Ilara Voss, a Scythian archaeologist renowned for her work on pre-spacefaring civilizations, was among the first to set foot on the ship. Her blue-skinned, slender form moved cautiously through the ancient corridors, her large, reflective eyes scanning the dark, cold metal. The ship, though dormant, exuded an aura of power, as if it was merely asleep, waiting for something or someone to wake it. "It's incredible," Ilara whispered, her voice tinged with awe. "This ship, it's ancient, yet the technology is far beyond what we possess." Captain Reichel Theron, a grizzled veteran of the Coalition's space forces, stood beside her, his hand resting on the hilt of his plasma blade. His keen eyes, hardened by years of combat, surveyed the ship with suspicion. "Ancient or not, this thing gives me the creeps," Reichel muttered. "We should leave it be." But Ilara was captivated. She could feel the ship's history pulsing beneath her fingertips, a story waiting to be told. Among the Coalition, she was known for her unyielding curiosity, a trait that had led her to uncover some of the galaxy's greatest secrets. This ship, however, felt different. It was as if it had been waiting for her. As the team ventured deeper into the ship, they came across a massive chamber. In its center was a large console, dust-covered but intact. Ilara approached it cautiously, her breath catching in her throat as she brushed off the debris. The console hummed to life at her touch, lights flickering on in a sequence that sent a chill down her spine. "This shouldn't be possible," she murmured, her heart racing. "The power should have depleted centuries ago." Reichel tensed, his instincts screaming danger. "Ilara, step away. We don't know what we're dealing with here." But Ilara was already lost in the ship's enigma. The console's display showed a language she didn't recognize, but her translator implant worked furiously to decode it. Suddenly, the screen flashed, and a voice, deep, authoritative, and undeniably human, boomed throughout the chamber. Identification confirmed. Captain Marcus Kane of the UES Dreadnought Sol Invictus. Authorization code Alpha 19 Zulu. "Welcome back, Captain." Ilara's blood ran cold. The name Marcus Kane was a legend among the Coalition, a war hero from the final days of humanity's reign. He had led the last fleet into battle against an unknown enemy, and his disappearance had marked the end of human dominance. But this ship, the Sol Invictus, was thought to be a myth. Before she could process what was happening, the chamber began to shake. The ship's systems rose to life, and the massive engines, silent for centuries, ignited with a thunderous roar. Reichel grabbed Ilara, pulling her back as the ship trembled beneath them. "Ilara, we need to get out of here now," Reichel shouted over the deafening noise. But Ilara couldn't tear her eyes away from the console. Something had awakened within the ship, something that had been dormant for centuries. And deep down, she knew that whatever it was, it had just changed the fate of the galaxy. The awakening. The Sol Invictus surged upward, breaking free from the planet's gravitational pull with ease. Ilara and Reichel barely managed to scramble into a control room, the ship's automated systems engaging with an efficiency that was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. "This ship, it's a relic," Reichel said, his voice tight with a mixture of fear and respect. but it's operating like it just left the shipyards yesterday. Ilara was already at the control panel, her fingers flying over the interface. Despite the ship's ancient design, it responded to her touch with a familiarity that was unsettling. The voice from earlier, the voice of Captain Marcus Kane, echoed in her mind. How could a ship this old recognize her? This ship was waiting for something, Ilara said, half to herself. Or someone. It recognized me as its captain. Why? Before Reichel could respond, the ship's communications array crackled to life. A holographic image of an alien species Ilara didn't recognize appeared before them, its bulbous head and multifaceted eyes giving it a predatory appearance. Unidentified vessel, you are in restricted space. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded, the alien commander barked, its tone leaving no room for negotiation. Ilara's heart raced. They were in the middle of nowhere, far from any known coalition territory. Whoever these aliens were, they were not friendly. But before she could issue a response, the ship's AI, still operating under the identity of Captain Marcus Kane, took control. This is the UES Dreadnought Sol Invictus. You are trespassing in Terran space. Stand down or be annihilated. The alien commander's expression faltered for a moment before he sneered. Terran? The Terrans are extinct, their empire nothing but dust. You cannot hope to. The Sol Invictus moved with a speed that defied its massive size. Weapon systems, dormant for centuries, activated with deadly precision. A beam of energy shot from the ship's primary cannon, slicing through the alien vessel as if it were made of paper. The explosion lit up the surrounding space, leaving nothing but debris in its wake. Ilara and Reichel stared in stunned silence. The Sol Invictus had just taken out an entire warship with a single shot. By the stars, Reichel whispered, "This ship, it's a goddamn war machine." Ilara's mind raced. The implications of what had just happened were staggering. The Sol Invictus wasn't just a relic. It was a weapon of unimaginable power, and it had just claimed its first victim in centuries. But who were these aliens, and why were they here? As the debris of the alien ship drifted away, the Sol Invictus's sensors picked up multiple signatures closing in on their position. An entire fleet was converging on them, each ship bristling with weapons. Reichel, we need to get out of here, Ilara said, her voice urgent. This ship is powerful, but we're outnumbered. Reichel nodded, already at the helm. Hang on, he said, punching in a series of commands. The Sol Invictus's engines rode to life, and the ship accelerated away from the planet. But the alien fleet was fast, and they were closing in. Ilara's hands shook as she tried to navigate the ship's systems, but the controls were beyond anything she had ever seen. The ship was almost like a living thing, responding to her thoughts as much as her touch. As the alien ships began to fire, the Sol Invictus danced through the barrage of energy blasts, its shields absorbing the hits with ease. But even as the ship fought back, Ilara knew they couldn't hold out forever. The alien fleet was relentless, their numbers overwhelming. Suddenly, a proximity alert blared. Ilara's heart skipped a beat as a massive alien dreadnought appeared on the screen, dwarfing the ships that had been chasing them. The dreadnought's weapons were already charging, its energy readings off the scale. Ilara, Reichel shouted, his voice filled with dread. But before the dreadnought could fire, the Sol Invictus reacted. The ship's eye took over, engaging a sequence of commands that Ilara didn't understand. The ship's hull began to glow, energy coursing through its structure as it prepared to unleash its full power. Ilara's eyes widened in horror and awe as the Sol Invictus's main cannon charged. The ship was ancient, but its weapons were more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen. With a deafening roar, the cannon fired, releasing a beam of energy so intense that it tore through the alien dreadnought, cutting it in half. The explosion was blinding, and when the light finally faded, the alien fleet was gone, reduced to nothing but scattered debris. Ilara collapsed into a seat, her mind reeling from what had just happened. The Sol Invictus had just destroyed an entire fleet without breaking a sweat. But the question remained, who were these aliens, and why were they so intent on capturing this ship? As the Sol Invictus drifted in the aftermath of the battle, Ilara knew one thing for certain. The galaxy had just changed forever. And the humans, long thought extinct, had just made their presence known in the most terrifying way possible. The legacy unveiled. The Sol Invictus sailed through the void, leaving behind the wreckage of the alien fleet. The tension on the bridge was palpable, the air thick with unspoken fears and unanswered questions. Reichel and Ilara exchanged a glance, both aware that they had just unleashed something far more powerful and dangerous than they could have ever imagined. "Ilara, what the hell just happened?" Reichel asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Ilara's mind was racing, piecing together the fragments of information she had gleaned from the ship's systems. "This ship, it's not just a war machine, Reichel. It's something more. The humans built it for a reason, and I think it was meant to be their last line of defense." Reichel frowned, his eyes narrowing as he considered her words. A last line of defense against what? The galaxy hasn't seen a threat like this in millennia. Ilara hesitated, her gaze drifting to the console that had recognized her as Captain Marcus Kane. "The ship identified me as Kane, but that doesn't make sense. He's been dead for centuries. Unless..." Her voice trailed off as a chilling realization began to take shape in her mind. "Unless what?" Reichel pressed, sensing her unease. "Unless this ship was designed to recognize something in me, something human," Ilara said, her voice trembling. "But I'm not human, Reichel. At least, I didn't think I was." Reichel stared at her, the weight of her words sinking in. "You think you have human ancestry?" Ilara nodded slowly. "It's the only explanation that makes sense. The ship recognized me because there's something in my DNA that links me to the humans. But why would the humans build a ship that could only be activated by one of their own?" Before Reichel could respond, the ship's AI interrupted, its voice cold and emotionless. "Captain, incoming transmission from the Galactic Coalition. Priority Alpha." Ilara's breath caught in her throat. The Coalition had finally noticed their presence, and given the destruction they had just unleashed, it wasn't going to be a friendly call. She exchanged a tense glance with Reichel before nodding to the AI. "Patch it through." The holographic image of High Commander Virik, leader of the Galactic Coalition, materialized before them. His expression was grim, his gaze piercing as he took in the sight of the two on the bridge. "Dr. Voss, Captain Theron," Virik began, his tone cold. "We've been monitoring your actions. You have activated an ancient human vessel of incredible destructive power. You are to power down immediately and surrender the ship to Coalition forces." Ilara's heart pounded in her chest. "High Commander, we didn't mean for any of this to happen. We discovered the ship by accident. But now that it's active, we don't fully understand how to control it." Virik's eyes narrowed. "That's precisely why it must be taken out of your hands. This ship is a relic of a dangerous past, a past the Coalition worked hard to bury. The humans were a threat to the galaxy, and their technology is too dangerous to be left in the hands of anyone, even those with good intentions." Ilara bristled at the accusation. The humans may have been powerful, but they were also protectors. This ship, it's not just a weapon. There's something more to it, something that we haven't uncovered yet. Virik's expression hardened. "Dr. Voss, I'm giving you one last chance. Surrender the ship, or we will be forced to take it by any means necessary." Ilara's mind raced, weighing her options. She knew that surrendering the Sol Invictus to the Coalition meant losing any chance of understanding its true purpose. But defying the Coalition would make them fugitives, hunted by the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Before she could respond, the ship's AI spoke again. "Captain, I have detected a massive energy signature approaching our position. It matches the profile of a weaponized gravitational anomaly. Ilara's blood ran cold. A gravitational weapon? That's impossible. The Coalition banned those centuries ago. Virek's hologram flickered as he received the same report. Dr. Voss, this is out of your control now. Power down the ship or face the consequences. But Ilara wasn't listening. Her focus was on the readings the AI was displaying. The energy signature was off the charts, far beyond anything the Coalition should have been able to muster. And yet, here it was, bearing down on them with lethal intent. Reichel, we need to move now. Ilara shouted, her fingers flying over the controls. Reichel didn't need to be told twice. He activated the ship's engines, and the Sol Invictus surged forward, narrowly avoiding the gravitational wave that tore through space where they had just been. The ship's sensors detected the source of the attack, a Coalition Dreadnought, its weapons trained on them, preparing for another strike. But something was wrong. The readings coming from the Dreadnought were not Coalition standard. They were different. Ilara's eyes widened as she recognized the pattern. Reichel, that's not a Coalition ship. It's something else. Something far more advanced. Reichel's hands tightened on the controls. Then what the hell is it? Ilara's voice was barely a whisper. It's them. The enemy the humans were fighting before they disappeared. They're back. The realization hit them both like a physical blow. The humans hadn't vanished. They had been fighting a war that the rest of the galaxy had been blissfully unaware of. And now, that war had come to them. The Coalition's forces, unaware of the true nature of the threat, were caught in the crossfire. Ilara knew they had no chance against such a foe. The only hope lay with the Sol Invictus, and whatever secrets it still held. Ilara, what do we do? Reichel asked, his voice strained. Ilara took a deep breath, her mind racing. We fight. But first, we need to unlock the ship's full potential. There's something here, something the humans left behind for this very moment. We just have to find it. As the alien Dreadnought closed in, its weapons charging for a final strike, Ilara and Reichel prepared for the battle of their lives. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and the only thing standing between it and annihilation was an ancient human Dreadnought, and the secrets it held within. The final stand. The Sol Invictus braced itself for the oncoming assault as the alien Dreadnought loomed closer, its massive silhouette blotting out the stars. Ilara's fingers danced over the control panel, desperate to unlock the ship's hidden capabilities. Every second counted, and the weight of the galaxy's fate pressed heavily on her shoulders. Reichel, devote all power to the shields. Ilara ordered, her voice steady despite the rising tension. Reichel complied without hesitation, his hands moving swiftly across the console. The Sol Invictus's shields flared to life, a shimmering barrier of energy that encased the ship. But Ilara knew it wouldn't be enough. The alien Dreadnought's weapons were too powerful, and their shields could only withstand so much. Ilara, whatever you're planning, do it fast. Reichel urged, his voice tinged with urgency. Ilara's mind raced, piecing together the fragments of data she had gathered from the ship's systems. The humans had built the Sol Invictus as their last line of defense, a weapon of unimaginable power. But it was more than just a weapon. It was a beacon, a signal to whatever remnants of humanity still existed. And it was designed to be activated in the face of an overwhelming threat, just like the one they were facing now. With a surge of determination, Ilara accessed the ship's core systems. The interface responded to her touch, recognizing the latent human DNA within her. The ship's AI, still operating under the guise of Captain Marcus Kane, guided her through the process. Captain, the ship's full combat protocols have been unlocked, the AI announced. Activating now. The Sol Invictus shuddered as its dormant systems rode to life. The ship's hull began to glow, energy coursing through its structure as hidden weaponry and defenses were brought online. Ilara felt a surge of power as the ship's capabilities were revealed. This was the true strength of the human dreadnought, the weapon that had once protected an entire species. The alien dreadnought fired, a massive gravitational beam hurtling toward the Sol Invictus. But this time, the ship was ready. The shields held, absorbing the impact with a brilliant flash of light. The alien ship, sensing its prey was not as vulnerable as it appeared, adjusted its tactics, preparing for a sustained assault. "Ilara, they're not backing down," Reichel warned, his voice tight. Ilara's eyes blazed with resolve. "Then neither will we. Prepare to engage all weapons." The ship's AA responded with cold efficiency. Targeting solutions acquired. Weapons ready. The Sol Invictus unleashed its fury. A barrage of energy beams, missiles, and plasma cannons tore through the void, each shot aimed with deadly precision. The alien dreadnought's shields buckled under the assault, its hull beginning to fracture as the human weaponry found its mark. But the aliens were not without their own defenses. The dreadnought retaliated, its weapons blazing as it returned fire. The Sol Invictus shook violently as the enemy's attacks battered its shields, but Ilara and Reichel held their ground. This was a battle for survival, and they were determined to win. As the battle raged on, Ilara began to see a pattern in the enemy's movements. The alien dreadnought was powerful, but it lacked the strategic finesse of a human commander. The ship's AI, still operating under Kane's persona, analyzed the data and adjusted their tactics accordingly. "Captain, I identified a potential weakness in the enemy's defenses," the AI reported. "Their power core is vulnerable to a concentrated energy strike." Ilara's eyes narrowed. "Reichel, prepare to fire on my mark. Target their power core." Reichel's hands moved with practiced ease, locking onto the enemy's weak point. "Ready when you are." Ilara took a deep breath, her focus unwavering. Fire. The Sol Invictus unleashed a devastating blast of energy, a concentrated beam that pierced through the alien dreadnought's shields and struck its power core. The effect was immediate. The alien ship convulsed as its systems overloaded, a chain reaction of explosions ripping through its hull. In a final desperate move, the alien dreadnought fired one last volley at the Sol Invictus. The impact was brutal, the ship's shields barely holding as the energy wave washed over them. But the damage had been done. The alien ship's power core detonated, engulfing the dreadnought in a massive explosion that sent shockwaves through the surrounding space. The bridge of the Sol Invictus shook violently as the shockwave hit, but the ship held together, its advanced systems absorbing the brunt of the blast. Ilara and Reichel watched as the alien dreadnought disintegrated, its pieces scattering into the void. "We did it," Reichel breathed, a mixture of relief and exhaustion in his voice. Ilara nodded, but her expression was grim. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. The return of the ancient enemy meant that the galaxy was once again in grave danger, and the Sol Invictus, with its mysterious legacy, was the key to their survival. As the debris of the alien dreadnought drifted away, Ilara turned to the ship's eye. "We need to find out everything we can about these aliens. Their technology, their strategies, everything. And we need to warn the Coalition." The AI responded with its usual efficiency. "Agreed, Captain. But I must inform you that there are still several locked protocols within the ship's systems. It is possible that the true purpose of the Sol Invictus has yet to be revealed." Ilara's heart sank. The secrets of the ship were still buried deep within its ancient systems, and they were running out of time to uncover them. But she knew one thing for certain: they couldn't do it alone. Reichel, set a course for the Coalition headquarters. "We need to regroup and prepare for what's coming next." Reichel nodded, inputting the coordinates. "Understood. But Ilara, what if they don't believe us? What if they see the Sol Invictus as a threat?" Ilara's expression hardened. Then we'll show them what this ship can do, and we'll make them understand that the only way to survive this war is to stand together. As the Sol Invictus sped toward Coalition space, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something monumental. The ancient enemy had returned, and the fate of the galaxy rested in the hands of those who could unlock the secrets of the human Dreadnought. The future was uncertain, and the path ahead was fraught with danger. But Ilara knew one thing for sure. The Sol Invictus had rode to life, and it wasn't done fighting yet. End of story.